Hello, good evening everyone. I am not uploading video on my YouTube channel from last 2 weeks because when I shoot the video there at old place that was my home, and now I am coming to my hostel of Punjab Technical University where I am in the final year, and I feel sorry about that I am not uploading video on not a single video on my YouTube channels. So please forgive me for that. Now from today I am trying to make consistent video and upload on YouTube. So our next title or next chapter of the book Life 3.0 is gaining power. The Omega had launched a media company not only to finance their early tech venture but also for the next step to their audacious plan and taking over the world within a year of the first launch. They had added remarkably good news channels to their lineup all over the globe as opposed to their other channels. These were deliberately designed to lose money and were pitched at a public service. In fact, their news channel generated no income whatsoever. They carried no ads, were viewable free of charge by anyone within an internet connection. The rest of their media empire was such a cash-generating machine that they could spend far more resources on their news services than any other journalistic effort had done in world history, and it shows through the aggressive recruitment with highly competitive salary of journalists and investigative reporters. They brought remarkable talents and finding to the screen through a global web service that paid anybody who revealed something newsworthy from a local corruption to a heartwarming event. They were usually the first to break a story, at least that what people believed. In fact, they were often first because story attributed to the citizens and journalists had been discovered promises via real-time monitoring on the internet. All the video news sites feature podcast and print article as well. Phase one of their news strategy was gaining people trust, which they did with great success. Unprecedented willingness to lose money enable remarkably diligent regional and local news coverage where investigative journalists often expose scandals that truly engage their viewer. Whenever a country was strongly divided politically and accustomed to partitions news, they would launch one news channel catering to each factions, ostensibly owned by different companies, and gradually gain the trust of their factions. Their possibles they are accomplished using proxies to buy the most influential existing channels, gradually improving them by removing ads and introducing their own content in country where the censorships and the political interference threatened these efforts. They would initially acquiesce in whatever government required of them and stay in business with the secret internal slogan, the truth, nothing but the truth, but maybe not the whole truth. Promises usually provided the excitement advice in such situations, clarifying which politicians need to be presented in a good light and which usually corrupt local ones could be exposed. Prometheus also provided invaluable recommendations for what string to pull, whom bribe to, how best to do so. The strategy was smashing success around the world within Omega Control Channel emerging as the most trusted news source, even in countries where the governments had thus far favored their mass adoptions. Their built-in reputations of trustworthiness and many of their news stories pre-located through the graphene Competitive news accessibilists felt that they were fighting a hopeless battle. How can you possibly make a profit competing with someone with better funding who gives their products away for free? With their viewership dropping ever more, networks decided to sell their news channels, usually to some of consortiums that latter turned out to be controlled by the Omegas. About 2 years of Prometheus' launch, when the trust-gaining phase was largely completed, the Omega launched phase 2 of their new strategy, Persuasions. Even before the astute observer had a noticed hint of a political agenda behind the new media, there seems to be gentle push towards the center away from the extremes of all the sorts. Their plethora of a channels catering to the different groups still reflected anonymously between the United States and Russia, India, Pakistan's different region political fractions and so on. But the criticism was slightly toned down, usually focusing on the concentrated issue involving money and power rather than an ad hominem attacks, sacromonizings, and the poorly substantiated rumors once phase two started in earliest. This fuse push to resolve old conflict became more apparent with frequent touching stories about the plight of a traditional adversaries, mixed with investigative reporting about how many vocal conflict mongers were driven by a personal profit motives. Political commentator noted that in a parallel there is damping regional conflicts. There seems to be concentrated push toward the reducible global threats. For example, the risk of a nuclear war were suddenly being discussed all over the place. Several blockbuster movies are dramatized and dystopian aftermath which nuclear winter infrastructure collapse and mass starvations. Sleek new documentary retells how nuclear winter could impact every country, scientists and politicians. Advocating nuclear de-escalations were given ample airtime. No list of discuss the students reveals study of what the helpful measures could be taken. Study funded by scientific organizations that had received large donations from a new tech company. As a result, political momentum started building from taking missiles off their high trigger alert and shrinking nuclear as arsenals. Renewed media attention was also paid to global climate change, often highlighting the recent promise-enabled technological breakthrough that the slashing the cost of renewable energy encouraging government to invest in such a new energy infrastructure. And now, parallel to their media takeover, the Omegas harassed promises to revolutionize education, given any person knowledge and abilities. Prometheus could determine the fastest way for them to learn any new subject in a manner that kept in highly engaged and motivated to continue and produce the corresponding optimized videos, reading materials, exercise, and other learning tools. Omega Control Company therefore the marketed online courses about virtually everything highly customized not only by language and the cultural background but also by starting level whether you can be a literate 40-year-old wanting to learn read or a biology PhD seeking the latest about cancer immunotherapy promises that at a perfect cost of you, leaving you craving to learn more. Some courses were for good profit, but many were made available for free, much to delight the teachers around the world who could use them in their classrooms, and most anybody eager to learn anything. This is business superpower to move rotation for political purpose, creating online persuasion sequence of video with insights from each one could both update someone's views and motivate them to watch another video about the related topic where they are likely to be further convinced. when the goals was the diffuse to conflict between two nations. For example, historical documentations would be independently released in both countries. The caste and the origins and the conduct of and conflict more relevance like geological news and conflict their techniques for stalking at the same time valuable characters from the other nations who start appearing in popularly so on the entertainment channels just as sympathetically portrayed minority characters had been rostered the civil and the civil rights movement in the past. Before long, political commentators could not help but notice growing support for a political agenda centered around seven slogans: democracy, tax cuts, government social services cuts, military spending cuts, free trade, open border, socially responsible companies. What was the less obvious was the underlying goals. To erode all previous power structure in the world. Item 2.6 eroded state power and democratizing the world gave Omega's business empire more influence over the selections of political leaders. Socially responsible company further weakened state power by taking over more and more in services that government had should be provided. The traditional business elite was taken simply because it could not compete with the promises backed company on the free market and therefore owned by a ever shrinking and share of the world economy. Traditional opinion leaders from the political parties and they lacked the persuasions machinery at the complete Omega's media empire. This had been simple mathematical explanations before promises that the poorest 50% of the Earth populations had earned only about 4% of global income, enabling the Omega and Root company to win their hearts and vote by sharing only the modest fraction of the profit with them. So thank you guys. In my room, the fan is not between the roof of my room. The fan is more right side, and you can see now my body and my hair can be sweating now. So this chapter is over. I think from next day we will upload the video which are beneficial to us. No, this is not very interesting. Just only I go through the chapter and only read and record myself. So I think we should discuss or upload a topic on a genuine video which are going happen in our country. So thank you for watching my video and keep supporting for me. From tomorrow I will try to upload video on a specific topic which is going on in our country or our surroundings and what happened in my college today and which what type of friend are I have. So thank you for watching my video. I am sweating too much now. So thank you and keep supporting.